So let's talk about stakeholder analysis. This is an analysis of your stakeholders, which you have identified. You see, in identifying stakeholders, one thing to identify the entities or the names of people, their contact information, and all that. You also identify their neutral, as far as their position on the project. Do they want the project to succeed? If they do, they're looked at as being positive stakeholders. If they don't want the project to succeed and they are an impedance to the project, we look at them as negative, okay? But we also have neutral stakeholders. But in stakeholder analysis, we go a step further. We analyze their level of power and interest. And to do that, we use something called a power interest grid. And this is what the power interest grid looks like. It's a grid, okay? We have power on the y-axis, and we have interest on the x-axis. And in the different regions, here, bottom left, top right, and bottom right, we have certain categories that we place stakeholders in. So if we have a stakeholder A is in the top right hand corner. What does that mean? It means they've got a high level of power and a high level of interest. Remember, we're looking this way, we're looking up that way. That's level of power going that way, and that's level of interest going that way, okay? So if stakeholder A is here, high level of power and interest, it's something we need to do as far as stakeholder A is concerned. Stakeholder A needs to be managed close. So we want to make sure we manage them close. Why do we need to manage these guys closely? We need to manage them close because they've got such a high level of power or interest that, I mean, if they sneeze, the project could go off course. Well, seriously, we really need to keep a tab on them, make sure that they're happy, make sure that we do everything as far as these guys are concerned. Now, let's say we have another stakeholder. Let's call it stakeholder B. So stakeholder B is in the lower left, low level of power, low level of interest. What do we need to do with folks like this? We need to monitor. So anyone that falls into this quadrant, monitor. We need to monitor them. You see, so this is an exercise you can easily go through with your team and say, oh, stakeholder A, what do you think? Are they high level of power, high level of interest? And if there's a variance or a disagreement between the team as far as where stakeholders lie, let them explain why they're putting them in the quadrant they are, and let's come to an understanding and an agreement. But ultimately, the PM should manage this document. It's not a document you want to throw around because people could get offended. You put them in a low level of power. So I've got a low level of power. You want me to show you that I don't have a low level of power? You'll be sorry. So stakeholder C, for example, that's here. Stakeholder C, high level of power, low level of interest. These people, we want to keep satisfied. So these folks in this quadrant, they've got a high level of power, but they're not very interested in the project. Keep them satisfied. People in this other quadrant down here, let's call stakeholder D. Stakeholder D, they've got a high level of interest. And for that reason, we want to keep them informed. High level of interest. Keep informed. So we've got these four quadrants. Low level of interest, low level of power. Monitor them because they could change. Folks here could end up, at the end of the project, end up being more interested, or they could end up being more powerful because of position changes. People in this quadrant, keep them satisfied. People in that quadrant, these are the real serious folks to manage close. Regular meetings, check up on them, give them all the information needed. Be white on rice with these guys. And D, these are the folks we want to keep informed. So we refer to this as a stakeholder analysis. And to do your stakeholder analysis, you need this. And this is called a power if it will let me write it. Try and write it somewhere else. Power interest grid. And it's used to carry out your stakeholder analysis as part of the Identify Stakeholders process.